Louisiana. You ever been? It's a state teeming with life, culture, and history. Typically when someone mentions Louisiana, the second thought is New Orleans.
What can you tell me about New Orleans?
Mardi Gras, voodoo.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
It's had its fair share of some really interesting moments throughout time, some harsher than others, but there's still a particular feeling. I've only been once, and it wasn't in New Orleans. I was more around the Shreveport, West Monroe area. I didn't even fully explore it either, but it was humid and you could walk in and out of pockets of rain. It was really beautiful. Too bad I didn't really take many pictures or videos there. Otherwise I'd have overlaid them while I'm talking about this. Though these areas are pretty populated, we don't often hear much about other smaller towns or cities, and I mean this in general. There's so much story to individual little locations that we don't have a chance to hear about. They might be remote or a place where old people move to go die in, but there's more to it than that. These places you pass on by your way to other cities or towns, on your way to visit family or go to some event. You might swing by one just to grab some snacks and pump gas, but you miss out on lives fully lived. Ones that have incredible achievements and heartbreaks, these fleeting feelings of Sonder passing as the last broken down farm escapes your field of view. This probably happens a lot to Norco, Louisiana. Residing within the St. Charles Parish, Norco boasts roughly 3,000 residents. It is just 25 miles west of its big sister New Orleans. Taking Route 61 heading east, you'll quickly see just a small portion of a town, hosting a variety of shops seemingly locally owned. Oh, and a large refinery owned by Shell. Apparently after Hurricane Ida in 2021, the refinery started spewing out toxic fumes via flaring. So, things are going well there. Interestingly enough, again if heading eastbound, your first sight is this larger Shell gas station. It kind of detracts from the allure of the town. As a whole, Norco feels like it only exists to house workers for the seemingly heavily Shell-oriented census-designated place, which I haven't really heard that phrasing before, but apparently it's also used to describe a few of the other places along the way here. Also small 3,000 populated clusters of life. I'm just going to call these towns. But there's more history to it than that, than just being a refinery town. But why here? Well, it's both beautiful and bleak. Its future is an interesting one to ponder, though. What happens to this place as the years progress, as technology advances both for the better and worse of mankind? How does Norco handle it all? Norco, the game, designed by Geography of Robots, published by Raw Fury, takes an interesting narrative spin focused on this location of the same name. Inspired by the game developer's time living in this location, you play as Kay, a woman who long left Norco away from both their mother, Catherine, and brother, Blake. She returns upon hearing that Catherine has passed from her cancer. Kay then finds herself in a strange web of investigations that her mother left behind and her brother being missing. From the outset, we are given a really magical opening that perfectly sets the tone for the rest of the game. Writing that has a healthy layer of cynicism and retaining a level-headed understanding that people need to make do. Visually captivating imagery using a kind of painterly aesthetic by pixel art. Surreal, beautiful, and creative in its use, and some really serene and excellent mood-setting music to keep you entranced. The story kept me intrigued every step of the way. Lots of twists and turns involving corporations, religion, and odd characters. The people are really well lived and realized, with rich backstories. You can feel it even if they don't say anything about themselves. We have this alcohol-soaked PI, Brett LeBlanc, who knows a bit about our mother and a bit of ourselves. Somewhat reliable. There's Lucky, our main man anarchist who wants to tear down the refineries operated by the fictitious Shield. Close enough. We also have our robotic pal, Million, who seemingly showed up to help our family. Kinda weird, but not really sure what's up with that. They help on our journey quite a bit, though. We also have ourselves, Kay, who we get to have some leeway with. We get to decide some of our positioning on who we have connections with a little bit from the start. I honestly don't know how much of these decisions affect interactions, but I assume at least in some capacity. But it at least provides us some context to Kay. She had run off to find herself, away from her family and away from everything, just estranging herself from them. Still family enough, though, to return after enough time. Interestingly, I found myself surprised that after a really surreal moment of choosing memories to remove and keep, we get to play as her mother, Catherine. She has her own regrets and bleak outlook. We find that she is setting her own memory banks to be left for her family as her time is drawing near. She is swept up in some very interesting things going about in New Orleans that involve some conspiracies and some really weird dudes named Garrett in an abandoned mall. I know a weird dude named Garrett too, but I wouldn't put him in an abandoned mall. Catherine was caught up in medical debt and was sought out by Superduck to find the stone, which seems to be hinting at some odd floating orb we hear bits about through Kay's side of the story. Kay's end is full of conspiracies and trailing whatever strange box which was lifted from Catherine by S.H.I.E.L.D., as well as Catherine's body being outright missing. There's a lot going on here, and I'm trying to keep spoilers light, just within Chapter 1, of which there's a demo of on Steam. I want to note that the way that the story is carried is not entirely what I had expected. From seeing the screenshots on the Steam store page, I figured this would be more of a point-and-click styled adventure, with a lot of use X with Y, verb usage, and all of that comes with it. And while there is still some of that, it feels like more of it isn't kind of an occasional puzzle to solve, but I'm mostly following a visual novel. That's not a bad thing, mind you. It did make it easier to jump back in after a couple week break to work on the Outer Wilds video, because I didn't have some complex puzzle that required near perfect memory of everything ongoing. It let me remember things a little easier without a progression block. But I also thoroughly enjoyed seeing that little location map, instantly transporting me back to playing Deja Vu. Love that thing. Just click on the little box to move to a location. Made me smile. Another thing I didn't really expect from Norco's gameplay was there being encounters. You encounter an old acquaintance by the name of Troy, not a friendly character at all in Kay's past, and still not when she returns. Troy prods at us, talking bad about her mom's passing. I wanted to roll with the punches, but it still irked me. My own mom's passing still eating away at me 14 years later, so I chose the fight option it presented me. Didn't expect to play Simon Says. I figured that was Kay's Monkey's little fun mini-game, and not a proper mechanic for combat. What's surprising to me is that each character in your party has a different mini-game for combat. Simon Says, or rhythm game, it's kinda neat. There's also an option to heal yourself on a character's turn, but I realized that there wasn't a really good reason to do that. At least for me, the combat was not really that interesting. It doesn't happen frequently, there's no experience gain or equipment to worry about, thankfully, but it's not all that engaging. Memorize a pattern and just keep hitting enemies until they go away. Then the story can progress. It wasn't very hard, and I didn't really think too much with each encounter. It's a little unfortunate, but it being not really annoying isn't the worst thing. They could have progress blockingly difficult combat unless you perfect it, which could mar the experience, or having excessively long and dull combat, which also would feel more like padding. The story necessitated some rough and tumble fights, and giving us the opportunity to actually perform that instead was probably the better move. It didn't hinder me, but also I'm the god of Simon Says. The highlight for me is the presentation of this game. At first it felt kind of rough, the visuals, like I was too close to the pixels, but after that intro I was really impressed with the use of it. It pans around the image in such a slick way that it presents a new landscape. It felt so seamless. Norco is a really pretty game. So much care was taken into using the medium to its full capacity. Their familiarity with Norco and New Orleans shows how it feels in these locales. It reminds me of times of just finding a bench or a step on a stairway and just sitting down and just letting myself take in the views. Even if there's a big dumbass of billboard for some lawyers smiling down on me, they knew these places, and it's a treat to see it from their eyes. But it doesn't just have that. There's also creative takes to the futuristic and surreal, vaguely cyberpunk future it's looking at. The design of the robots and AI are really cool. I love the way Million looks, like staring at a galaxy skybox. And heads up, minor spoilers for Chapter 1 of 3. Okay. And the insane design of whatever the hell is happening with this freak. It's inventive. I really love looking at this game. It does such a good job of visually tantalizing you. Let's dig into the music a bit. Gogali the First, I am not sure how to pronounce that. I am so sorry. And FM Aura, with other collaborators, work to capture the ambience of the area. And it feels like I'm doing some weird investigative work in these flooded swamps in a rural town. Synthy and reminiscent of the crunchier audio of an older point-and-click adventure game, I found myself sitting on some screens to just bask in the vibes of a track and the view. Again, having set foot in Louisiana for a brief period of time in the summer, I kind of let myself sit in the humidity and warmth and felt it out. It's a really good soundtrack. Checks to Cash did something to my brain. I can't get it out and I don't want it to leave. Unbelievably soothing. I really love what they did with the music in this game. Overall, this game is really impressive. It took me on a ride that I kept thinking about even after I stopped playing to eat or partake in the real life. It did have some minor issues though, some weird bugs that threw me out of my immersion for a moment, or I had an instance where I thought I had a particular change in my ending with a key item I got earlier, but providing it to a character led to the screen turning a shade darker and nothing happening. Felt like there was supposed to be something, but maybe it broke? I'm not sure. I still got the resolution I wanted. I highly recommend checking in on this game. Look at its demo and decide if you want more of that. It has a really interesting build-up to its ending, and I really like the execution of it. Though I will say that I kind of hope that there's more to it afterwards. Its story ends, yes, and we have the information we need to understand everything, roughly, but it still ends abruptly after things are tied up. Once it had its resolution, it went to black, gave us a hint more, and let the credits roll. I wanted more, but I think I'd be happy to just see more from the people who made this game. They got some good creatives on their team, and I just want to see them keep going. They got nominated for the Game Awards for Best Debut Indie Game in 2022, and they absolutely deserved that nomination. Just don't look at who won and the other nominees. It'll hurt you a bit, but that don't matter. Check out Norco, it's really cool. I recommend it wholeheartedly. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did making it. These videos are a real delight to make, and I'd like to be able to put more time into them. Or fix the clicking that you hear. If you'd like to help with that cause, Check out my Patreon, where there are a couple choices to help me get around to more games or topics or upgrading my setup so I have better quality content coming out. I'll throw in some treats and some behind the scenes posts on there, from time to time to keep you guys updated and know that I'm not embarrassingly distracted. And if you're not feeling that, that's totally fine. Feel free to also subscribe to my channel if you want to keep hearing my voice talk about videos game. Also, if you hear my voice kind of sounding a little weirder, I drank something, and I guess it was bad, so I got a little food poisoning. So I'm feeling a little bad, but hey, I recorded it. That's what matters. Oh, and a few shout outs. Thanks to BCware for gifting me Norco. We both had our eyes on it, and him pulling the trigger for me was very awesome. Thanks again. You can find him on itch.io. I'll provide a link in the description. He is a programmer by day and does some game jams on the side. So check out his stuff and give him some feedback. He wants you guys to kind of pressure him to keep making stuff. Check him out. Maybe we'll work together. Who knows? Also, for those who are interested in an archival approach to the entire SNES catalog, check out my big brother, the Impar, on Z Targetable, as he proceeds to alphabetically play through every SNES game.
A child.
Rocky with the staff, Colt, who uses a sword, and Baby Tum Tum going Raphael style with the sai. Enough! Let's get on with the game. Choose one of 3 obnoxious white goblins. Retch before their demonic wails.
Let's murder them!
Made a mistake.
And give us a full rundown of them, detailing the people behind each and giving us insight on where those people went and so on. It's really good informational stuff. He's still early on, so please follow him as he's worked through 3 Ninjas Kickback and is currently working on the 7th Saga as of recording this. And if you're looking for a slightly edited full playthrough with funny commentary, check out our friend Schmelnick, who has a penchant for horror games, but looks through a variety of lenses for games, including VR. Scream with him, if you'd like.
Where are you, son of a bitch?
And if you want to hear us all together, we've started up Story So Scary.
You're stepping in to the dark world of Story So Scary.
A podcast where we gather stories on the net that are scary, and we analyze them and have some laughs along the way. We might have some special guests here and there within our friend or family circle. Please check it out. We have a lot of fun there. We're hoping to record some more soon. We have 1 episode out. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you.